All right, we are live, everyone. Aloha and mahalo for being here. Um, this is our Regency Fashion discussion. Woo woo. First things first. Ashley, you want to take us away with our first question?
Okay, so the first question is, as you look at the facts that you are learning about Regency fashion, what sorts of inferences can you draw about the society?
They care a lot about their social status, their
Appearance.
wealth, appearance, their prestige, is what I would say.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think it depends on the men and the women too. It seems like the women are very they care more about how they present themselves in the way of sort of like the women at the time. I think we talked about in our last discussion of how they're portrayed, as kind of like the perfect like subservient wife, and so like they wore the dresses that like really pushed up their breasts because that was like the main thing that they wanted to
Yeah.
like pay attention
Yeah.
to. It was like
Throughout
very
time. Sorry,
like
good.
like just like flowing and kind of got that attitude of like a
Mm-hmm.
almost like an angelic air that they're there to be the aim for the place.
And then there's like even a part that was saying that they would increase the indent by like 1 inch per year.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
that was kind of a funny thing.
Yeah, that was with the length of the dress, wasn't it?
I thought that
Yeah,
was with the hem.
With
it
the
was
hem.
the dress and also the wasn't it like the cut in the back or something as well.
Yeah, so as
Um,
the times changed, they revealed a little more, I guess.
Yeah. Get a little more scandalous as the years go on.
More scandalous, a little more calf. But
I guess we're still going that 1 inch, aren't we, in our society today?
oh, it says the waistline fell just under a woman's breast and could go no higher. There was only one way that waistlines could go, and by 1818 they began to drop by about 1 inch a year.
okay.
Oh, yeah, 'cause that was the waistline
Yes.
because they brought it up towards like the breast area, and then like
Yeah.
that became it looked more like a robe instead of like a gown or
But it's
something.
also interesting because like they started to like cover up top
Mhm. Yeah.
after time went by, and then they got sleeves, and then it went
Hmm.
from like short sleeves to like long sleeves.
Yeah, it's
Um,
Well,
interesting. Like the Romantic period is very like all about the freedom and the um, just kind of doing what you want, and that's reflected in the clothing. Then you get to the Victorian, and they're back to like the same way of thinking before the Romantic.
mhm,
That they're more back to the covering up and back to the more form fitting and
mhm.
I guess what would be like staunched clothing where they like powder it and make it like hard, whereas before it was like flowing. Uh, I don't know, more like free. I look at it,
yeah.
Mhm.
restrictive.
One thing, one thing I realized is like, even like with the men, like, if you look, I mean, it doesn't talk about it in the reading so much, but like the religion at that time period, the religion that, like the influence of religion at that time, like if you look at the Victorian era or the Romantic, religion isn't as like prominent in their society at that time, but like if you look at the late 1700s, excuse me, late 1700s, that's when religion is like booming and Protestants and Pentecostals and all these different religions are like going back and forth with each other. So there's like that more modesty thing. So society is more modest, and so that's when they start to cover up, and that's when they start caring, and then the men become more. They aren't wearing such as these bright colors. They're wearing plain jackets, plain white shirt, and I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see that as well.
Yeah, the culture definitely reflects itself in the fashion, which I guess is why we're studying fashion at this
Mhm.
time.
Kind of funny how that works. What's the next question?
What sort of meaning can we attach to the changes in women's sense of what shape their body should have, or the fact that hairstyles we were simplified?
Dang. I don't know what to say on that one. Let me think about that one for a second.
I would say like
Oh.
because of the waistline, like we were talking about with like the empire waistline, and that it was to like accentuate the breast because it was so close. But I guess that the figure they're going for is just, I don't know, to accentuate that area and to have I think more focus on like the face and like elongating the form would be
Mm-hmm.
because the Victorians more like the hourglass figure with like the corsets,
Mm-hmm.
getting like, and then they'd have like the big hat, so it was almost like that. Whereas with the romantic, it was more just like to elongate where they had the waist right here, so it was longer, like the legs looked longer. So I guess going for more of a angelic look.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
think it
think.
also
Go ahead.
has something to do with like purity and
Mm-hmm.
um, like that was definitely something like just kind of like what you mentioned. There's like a more focus on the face, more focus on like the character of the person rather than the actual appearance of them.
Yeah.
What do you think of the hairstyles? So I think they didn't focus much on the hairstyles really because like what they really wanted to show was their face as well as their up top or upper body. I think that's why they simplified the hairstyles so much.
Yeah, it says it was more like natural where they'd still like wear it up and like do things, but it wasn't like before where the hair was like a work of art. Like they'd spend
Yeah.
hours like forming it to be like perfect and have like intricate designs where it was more just kind of like a natural feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There's also I know this is not part of the question, but there's also a part where it talks about how like men stop wearing wigs,
Oh yeah.
and I thought
Yeah.
that was
They cut their hair too.
mm-hmm. And they
Yeah,
started
so
wearing
If-
that too.
boys would wear it
Yeah.
naturally. It's still just like the older men and like the doctors and aristocrats who insisted on keeping the old ways and wearing the powdered wig.
All I know is if I was in Parliament still, I'd be wearing the wig.
I think it was just interesting because in both of them, both men and women, they showed their waistline. Is the waist is was like the most accented part of their body. Like
Yep.
waistcoats were relatively high, is what it says for men.
Yeah, and the men would even have like the long trails too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, accentuate that figure of length, I guess, with the women with their trails and their high waists, and the men with their short waistcoats and their long trails. Kind of fun.
I think that also
Okay.
just with the high waisted too is like it shows like the body being more proper, upright, and that's kind of
Mhm.
just goes with the time period too. It's just that same society like, expects you to be more not necessarily carefree. There's value. There's I guess standards to be met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Next question is, what does this have to do with the way women were thought of or thought about themselves? I think it was more along the lines of, um, not royalty, just like rich. It's, I'm rich, I'm married to a rich man, or it's just kind of showing social status is what I kind of thought about it.
Yeah, I think too because the dresses were not practical at all. Like it talked about London like being one of like, the muddiest and rainiest places. They'd have those trailing in the mud like that. It just isn't a practical thing, but they wore them because it was like a status thing and the
Hmm.
type of like cloth and garment. And like for the men, um, the quality and like the form of it was, that sort of
Hmm.
like equated your class, and so it was important to have that
Hmm.
certain status.
I think it's also interesting the fact that like they paid attention to fashion. Like it's the in style, so that's how you have to dress.
Hmm.
I think it's funny because like even now people think the same way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
times haven't changed much.
Hmm.
Anything else?
So anything else?
Is there the next question?
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Um, what is the significance of the empire waist?
The significance of the Empire Waist. I think it was more, like we talked about before, it's just accentuate like the face and accentuate um, like more proper, more to show like uh, show properness, to show like dominance, I guess, to show authority, to like like respect towards another person, kind of thing. It was all to like be surrounded around the face rather than like the actual body.
Yeah.
It was like there was also the empire gown which women wore. That I guess they wore it for a short time for day wear and lasted until 1805 to 1806 for only evening wear.
Hmm.
That
I
was
thought that was
influenced by the
interesting.
Queen, wasn't it?
Hmm?
That was influenced by the Queen, wasn't it? In that she
Yeah,
started like,
Yeah.
Marie Antoinette. Yeah.
yeah. So again, it's like the status. They're copying royalty, really.
Hmm.
I think we do that now too. It's just we copy what the famous people do. We copy, but
Yeah,
yeah,
our celebrities, definitely.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, interesting.
Next question.
Hmm.
Uh, why did men become simpler in their dress?
Mm,
Um,
I, God. Well, I I feel like it was just easier.
now, yeah, that was one thing they said. There was like two or three things that they said. They said it was for like the purpose of it was just easier for them to clean. It was
Hmm.
easier to get dressed, and it was more based off of comfort. So like their
Hmm.
lapels and their I don't know what the pants were called again, but the pants they like I guess before then they had to like put them on to wear like and they liked them super tight, and they now made them more relaxed and it was more not so much form fitting and it was more it kind of just like worked with the body's movements and it was just literally just for
Hmm.
comfort, which was a
One of the
great.
parts that I read, it says in Regency London, dandyism was a revolt against a different kind of tradition, an expression of distaste for the extravagance and ostentation of the previous generation, and of sympathy with the new mood of democracy. So it's kind of going with the times as well as a revolt, is what I kind of understood it as. On top of that, it also showed refinedness and also richness. I felt.
yeah, it seemed like they started to focus more on quality and like quality of material and quality of like the fit, and less on like the frills and like the adornment that makes it like
Mhm.
all that fluff. They focus more on just, like the basic structure and saw
Yeah.
that valued that more as like fancy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
next
it.
question.
Next question. How do these things relate to such issues as relationships between men and women for the fact that the middle class was gaining more power in England?
I believe the fashion just shows like right there, like things became more comfortable, so like the middle class and the upper class began to like integrate. So there was like that clash between the women and the men, both making their dresses more comfortable. Like the women didn't wear such as tight corsets. They didn't. the styles kind of just merged together, and then that's what fashion became to be.
Yeah. I think it's basically for like a distinction. They wanted to show a distinction between the poor, the middle class, and the rich.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, and I think that's all the questions. And then you have to know things.
Um,
Yeah.
so I am in charge of typing the report up. Is there anything you guys would like me to include? I've already written it, but I'm gonna add a few things and take a few things out just from our discussion or whatever. But is there anything that you guys would like me to include?
Um,
What have you gotten so far?
Well, I talk about the like women with their like the change of their high waisted. And let me see here 1 second. I'll just pull it up. Sorry, 1 second. You have to load it. I made sure I went through the rubric or whatever that she has there, and I went and made sure I have every point that she needs. Um,
did you have trouble finding quotes, or did you get enough quotes?
oh yeah, I got plenty of quotes. Yeah, I have like 9 quotes in there, so it asks for 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I made sure I had quotes and everything. Let's see.
Yeah, nothing really like stood out as like ultra necessary as a quote. Just kind of like whatever
Yeah,
you want to really.
yeah. I also talk about like
I
the
think
value, of the connection
go ahead.
between classes, and like how like
Mm-hmm.
the value of fashion kind of changed. And I kind of just gave evidence of it. Like I was basically like just like verbatim quotation marks of what was in the reading. So cited it. So
I think like the main quotes that I would want to include was the ones about waistlines because I think that's what played the most significant part in um, the dress and fashion in this time
yeah,
frame. Yeah.
of course, yeah. Um, yeah, so I'll go ahead and reread that, and then if you guys want me to send it to you, I can send it to you. You guys can proofread it, but like I said, I already written it, and I think it's pretty solid. But,
Okay. Sounds good.
cool. Well, next week let's try. Like, I don't care if we do it late; it doesn't matter to me. Um,
Do we have
but I
do
know
we have
Hmm?
one this Wednesday?
I
have one
believe
Wednesday.
that one is just ourselves.
It's just ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah. I believe we only have one group hangout per week.
Okay.
yeah,
So sometimes it's Monday, sometimes it's Wednesday.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
is what
depends.
it's looking like.
Okay. Yeah, if we have them on Wednesday, I can't do it Wednesday. I work from like 8 to midnight.
What are
Okay.
you guys what are your guys' schedules? Do you have Tuesdays, Thursdays off or
I have Tuesdays, Thursdays off, yeah. So if you guys ever want to do it, then that would be perfect.
Okay.
what about you,
I'm
Taylor?
I'm free. Like starting next week, I work from like 6 to 4 in the afternoon, and then the rest I'm free for the rest of the night. So um, yeah, like anytime in the evening, I'm fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
even better probably.
Yeah. And then it's between me and you, Jasmine, for next week. Do you want to do it or do you want me to? Also, we have two group members, Eliza and Nisa. Nisa?
Oh, the one she added?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we haven't gotten in contact with her. I put her on the Facebook, but she hasn't answered back yet.
Okay. I can write the next one, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, that
Okay, sounds
works.
good.
All right. Well, thanks guys for bearing with me and getting it all together. So you guys are awesome.
But,
All right, you guys have a good
Good
night.
luck.
Thanks.
Good night.
Follow.
bye.